Hello everyone, I'm back for video lesson number 3. I hope that you guys are at home, hanging in there, that you all have been continuing to do as much learning as you can, whether that be reading books, whether that be on Clever, doing iReady, continuing with these lessons that I'm bringing to you through video. Whichever one of those things that you're doing, I applaud you for that, and I hope that you continue. So here we go with video lesson number 3. We have, in the last lesson, we read the first half of Spring 1935. We discussed Billy Joe's changing relationships. And we also examined the author's word choice. Why would the author choose some words over other words? Why would you choose the word flocked, right? To really emphasize how happy, how joyful, how thrilled the people were that the air had finally cleared instead of they just gathered outside, right? They flocked outside. They all went and in large numbers came out, kind of thing. So that's what we did in our last lesson. Today, we're going to finish reading Spring 1935. I'll do part of the reading and I'll give you, just like I did last time, a view of the pages that remain in the chapter so that you can finish doing the reading. Then we'll discuss emerging themes. What are themes in poem? What is a poem's theme? What was that thing that the author really wanted us to get from the poem? Now, after doing that, you are going to independently determine the theme in one poem that I'm going to assign to you. And so that'll be done through a TP cast worksheet that we've worked on before. I'll remind you what that looks like, but it basically walks you through, you're focused on one poem and you're looking at what can you infer from the title? What is the plot? What goes on in the poem? What is the figurative language used in the poem? So that way, all the way at the end, you're ready to come up with a theme statement. What was the theme in that poem, right? It's like an analysis chart that can help you get at the theme. So that's what you will be completing at the end of the lesson. So we're going to finish reading Spring 1935. That would be page 168, 169 of our book. The Visit. Mad Dog came by to see how we made out after the duster. Let's see what happened in the last poem. There was, the big dust storm, that the truck wouldn't start anymore, and they had to come back. They didn't make it to the funeral, and so on and so forth. So it says, Mad Dog came by to see how we made out after the duster. He didn't come to court me. I didn't think he had. He visited more than an hour. The sky cleared enough to see Black Mesa. I showed him my father's pond. Mad Dog said he was going to Amarillo to sing on the radio, and if he sang good enough, they might give him a job there. You'd leave the farm? I asked. He nodded. You'd leave school? He shrugged. Mad Dog scooped a handful of dust like a boy in a sandpit. He said, I love this land, no matter what. I looked at his hands. They were scarless. Mad Dog stayed longer than he planned. He ran down the road, back to his father's farm when he realized the time. Dust rose each place his foot fell, leaving a trace of him, long after he'd gone. April 1935. Freak Show. Freak Show. The fellow from Canada, James Kingsbury, photographer from the Toronto Star, way up there in Ontario, the man who took the first pictures of the Dion quintuplets, left his homeland and came to Joyce City, looking for some other piece of oddness. hoping to photograph the drought and the dust storm, and he did, with the help of Bill Rotterdaw and Handy Pool, who took him to the sandiest farms and showed off the boniest cattle in the county. Mr. Kingsbury's pictures of those Dion babies got them famous, but it also got them taken from their mother and father and put on display like a freak show, like a tent full of two-headed calves. Now I'm wondering, what will happen to us after he finishes taking pictures of our dust? April 1935. Help from Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam represents the U.S., right? The U.S. government. Help from Uncle Sam. The government is lending us money to keep the farm going. Money to buy seed, feed, loans for our cow, for our mule, for the chickens still alive, and the hog, as well as a little bit of feed for us. My father was worried about paying back because of what Ma had said. But Mrs. Love, the lady from Vera, assured him he didn't need to pay a single cent until the crops came in. And if the crops never came, then he wouldn't pay a thing. So my father said, okay, anything to keep going. He put the paperwork on the shelf beside Ma's book of poetry and the invitation from Aunt Ellis. He just keeps that invitation from her, glowering down at me from the shelf above the piano, April 1935. Makes me think, right, whether Billy is considering the option of leaving home, leaving her dad. Let down. I was invited to graduation to play the piano. I couldn't play. It had been too long. My hands wouldn't work. I just sat on the piano bench, staring down at the keys. Everyone waited. When the silence went on so long, folks started to whisper. Arlie Wanderdale lowered his head, and Miss Freeland started to cry. I don't know. I let them down. I didn't cry. Too stubborn. I got up and walked off the stage. I thought maybe if my father ever went to Doc Rice to do something about the spots on his skin, Doc could check my hands too, tell me what to do about them. But my father isn't going to Doc Rice. And now, I think we're both turning to dust. May 1935. It was let down. Okay. I'll read one more and then leave you to finish the rest on your own. Hope. It started out as snow. Oh, big flakes floating softly, catching on my sweater, lacy on the edges of my sleeves. Snow covered the dust, softened the fences, soothed the parched lips of the land. And then it changed, halfway between snow and rain, sleet, glazing the earth, until at last it slipped into rain, light as mist. It was the kindest kind of rain that fell, soft and then a little heavier, helping along what had already fallen into the hard pan earth until it rained steady as a good friend who walks beside you, not getting in your way, staying with you through the hard time. And because the rain came so patient and slow at first, and built strength as the earth remembered how to yield instead of washing off, the water slid in into the dying ground and softened its stubborn pride and eased it back toward life. And then, just when we thought it would end, after 3 such gentle days, the rain came slamming down, tons of it, soaking into the ready earth, to the primed and greedy earth, and soaking deep. It kept coming, thunder booming, lightning, kicking, dancing from the heavens down to the prairie, and my father dancing with it, dancing outside in the drenching night with the gutters racing, with the earth puddled and pleased, with my father's near-finished pond filling. When the rain stopped, my father splashed out to the barn and spent 2 days and 2 nights cleaning dust out of his tractor until he got it running again. In the dark, headlights shining, he idled toward the freshened fields, certain the grass would grow again, certain the weeds would grow again, certain the weeds would grow again, certain the wheat would grow again, too. May 1935. Okay, so I will ask that you continue reading for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 poems, and to discover all sorts of things that happen that don't happen on the regular, that do not happen every day. So some good things, some interesting things happening in Billy Joe's town, you can say. So continue reading and then play the video again so we can continue.
Okay, here are the pages that you will read to finish off the chapter. Here's the poem called Rain's Gift, Hope Smothered, Sunday Afternoon at the Amarilla Hotel, Baby, the continuation of Baby, Old Bones, and you're at the end of the chapter. Okay, well, now that we're done reading Spring 1935, we are going to reread a poem called The Visit, the one I started the lesson out with. What is the theme of this poem is the question we're going to ask ourselves. To answer this question, we're going to ask, what is the topic? What is the main thing that the author is discussing? What is the author saying about the topic, right? It's not just important to know what the topic is, but what is the author saying about the topic? How does the author draw our attention to the words that imply theme? Ultimately, we want to know what the theme of the poem is. In other words, the message that the author is trying to send with this poem. Let's do that.
The Visit. Mad Dog came by to see how we made out after the duster. He didn't come to court me. I didn't think he had. We visited more than an hour. The sky cleared enough to see Black Mesa. I showed him my father's pond. Mad Dog said he was going to Amarillo to sing on the radio, and if he sang good enough, they might give him a job there. You'd leave the farm? I asked. He nodded. You'd leave school? He shrugged. Mad Dog scooped a handful of dust like a boy in a sand pit. He said, I love this land, no matter what. I looked at his hands. They were scarless. Mad Dog stayed longer than he planned. He ran down the road back to his father's farm when he realized the time. Dust rose each place his foot fell, leaving a trace of him long after he'd gone. Leaving a trace of him long after he'd gone. April 1935. Okay, let's go back to those questions.
Now back to the question. We have reread The Visit. We can ask ourselves now, what is the theme of this poem? Well, let's explore it. What is the topic? It's the first question. What is the topic? Well, the topic really was Mad Dog giving a visit, right? Our title of the poem tells us that. Mad Dog giving a visit, sharing news that he might be leaving, right? If I had to say one word, the topic is, or a couple words, Mad Dog might be leaving. What is the author saying about the topic? Well, the author is saying that not only is Mad Dog leaving, but him leaving will cause a lot of missing to happen, right? Missing on the part of course, Mad Dog, who will miss the land, and missing on the part of Billy Joe as well, missing Mad Dog. There's also this question about how does the author draw our attention to the words that imply theme? How does the author help us with the words that she chooses imply theme? How does she help us understand the theme? Well, let's look back at the visit. In the poem, the author, and what she does to help us get at the theme is she gives us certain things that characters do. She has characters say certain things, characters do certain things. In this case, a mad dog scooped a handful of dust like a boy in a sandpit and said, "I love this land no matter what." Words that she chose, like love, like no matter what, really indicate that the theme in this poem is somebody is leaving, but they are still going to remember who they're going to miss whatever they're leaving behind, right? They're attached to something, and when they leave it, then they will miss it. We have another instance of that where the author chooses to include words like leaving a trace long after he'd gone, right? When the author chooses to describe the way when the author chooses to describe the way Mad Dog is leaving, the way Billy Joe is noticing him leaving, saying the dust rose, each place his foot fell, leaving a trace of him long after he'd gone, by giving us that description, we really understand the theme of the poem to be how long after somebody leaves, because you are attached to that person, because you have grown to either love or admire, respect this thing, then or value it, then you're going to always think of it, miss it, take it with you, whether it's in your heart, in your mind, through thoughts, etc. Now that we're ready to move on, we will look at your exit ticket. You're going to reread the poem Hope. You read it as part of this chapter already, but go back and reread it. You're going to complete the TP Cast Hope handout, and you're going to write a theme statement in the last box. This last box. Let me walk you through the chart itself so that you can complete that without issues. My suggestion is that you read what's in the description box because it'll also guide what your response should look like. What should you be focusing on answering in that box? So for this first one, you're looking at the title. Consider the title and make a prediction about what the poem is about. Just by reading the word hope, right, the title, what can you predict the poem will be about? What do you know about hope already that you think? What do you know about Billy Joe already and hope that you think will then that you can use to help you understand what the poem will be about? Now, paraphrase. You're going to put the poem in your own words. Just tell me what happens in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. Really just the plot of the poem. Once you do that, you move on to connotation. Look at the poem beyond the actual events for figurative language, imagery. What are those instances that the author uses figurative language, right? Things that do not happen literally, but are figurative. Then you're looking at attitude, tone. Don't be afraid to pull out your handout with all the words that have tone and mood in them to really figure out or use those to tell me what the tone of this poem was about. Is there more than one attitude or tone in different parts of the poem? You can pick more than one word. Tell me in the beginning, so-and-so, the tone is so-and-so. In the middle, the tone changes or shifts to this and that. And then it ends in this certain tone, right? Don't be afraid to use the worksheet. I will show you once again what I mean by that worksheet. Then you have shifts. Are there any shifts in the speaker's attitude? When does it shift? When does the author or in this case, Billy Joe, when does she shift the way that she's speaking or the way that she's feeling. You're looking one more time at the title. In this one, look at the title again. Why is it important to the poem? Now that you've really analyzed the poem a little bit further by doing what you did in the boxes prior to this one, you're going to now really just kind of think to yourself, why would the author name the poem Hope? Why is it important? What does it do? You're going to then finish off with the theme statement. What is the theme? What is the message behind this poem really all about? That's how you're going to end. Remember that when you're looking at tone, you can go back to this sheet and pick from these words, right? What is the tone that Billy Joe has? And remember, the tone can change. It might start off with a tone, a particular kind of tone, and then in the middle switch or shift to another tone, and end with a different one. Here's the poem Hope that you will reread, and you will need to complete the chart. Third page, fourth page. Having completed your exit ticket, we are through to the end of the lesson. In this lesson, we analyzed a poem for theme, and you also read a poem and independently developed a theme statement. Congratulations on finishing this lesson. I will be back next week with another lesson for you. I hope that you continue to remain productive, that you are staying healthy, that you're staying safe, and that you enjoy some quality time with family. I will see you and hopefully soon. And like I said, I miss you a lot. Goodbye.